¿Qué pasa, mi amigos? Nima here, and today I want to talk about Nobody Saves the World. Now, this game has been touted as one of the best indie games of 2022, and a lot of people have already played it on Xbox. But we can find out now if this game ports well over the Nintendo Switch, or if it just falls short like a lot of other games. But before we get to that, I want to remind you to please hit that like and subscribe button. I appreciate each and every one of you. I mean, honestly, you just mean the world to me. Everything that's been going on, all the interactions lately, has just been so awesome. You guys have kept me going in some pretty difficult times in my life right now, and so I just appreciate each and every one of you. Anyway, Nobody Saves the World is a very interesting game because at its core, you don't really have a main character. Like, there's not somebody who you grow an attachment to. You're just kind of this androgynous, genderless, pasty being without even pupils or clothing of any sort, which does get brought up. You have this kind of attachment that grows to the forms that you can transform into. I personally really liked the turtle. You can transform into about 14 different characters. This happens because you find a wand that you're not really supposed to have, but the world is being overthrown by calamity, and the High Wizard is gone. No one can find him, and his apprentice isn't as strong as you would like, so you've got to take things into control, and you've got to handle it, and you've got to save the world. But again, it's hard when you're nobody. So this wand gives you the ability to change forms, and there's over, like I said, like 14 different forms you can be. Each of them have their own benefits that they have to them. The big one being, they all have a certain element or moveset that can be used. And there's 4 elements. There's light, dark, blunt, and sharp. And the enemies will occasionally have a shield on them that makes them vulnerable to only one of those elements. And so if you are, let's say, the mouse who doesn't have sharp, well, then you can't do any damage to the enemy until you are able to transform into someone who has a sharp ability, and then you can penetrate the defense. Now, the thing is later on in the game, as you play through, you can, in fact, shift and customize different assets and elements and skills to whatever form you want. Like, you can have a horse that can spit water and shoot arrows. I do. You can have a turtle who, has the ability to charge through people. Like, they all have their own things, and you can customize them, which does make it easier because this game does get pretty chaotic and pretty crazy. It is a top-down dungeon crawling style game, and with a lot of those games, there comes an outpouring of enemies at times. There'll be a situation where you have to do a quick change, and you have to switch to a different form as fast as possible while you're being accosted by this massive group of enemies. And the thing is, which kind of is a problem, is there's a quick change, right? But the quick change doesn't quickly change. In fact, like, you don't get a pause, you don't get a time stop. The enemies just keep attacking you while you're trying to change forms. I found it easier myself to just hit the pause menu and switch then. And to be honest, I did that by mistake because I thought that was how you're supposed to change forms. It was later I figured out that there's a quote-unquote quick change. But what is kind of nice is you kind of see this coming. You can take one of your forms, and like I said, later on, you can put, an element from each of the 4 on your character. So if there is an enemy that is going to be difficult and you're just surrounded by tons of people, you just have to use a different attack instead of a different form. But that also is a problem because this game kind of pushes you to use different forms. They want you to explore. They want you to use different characters, but they make it really difficult for you to do that when they themselves will not give you just like a half a second to change characters. But I will say that aside from you having to decide what character you're going to use and to push the character's growth, there is a lot of opportunities to play the game, as there's a lot of side quests and there's a lot of other things that you can do to upgrade your characters and to keep expanding and expanding. But the thing is grinding is not actually how you upgrade your characters. Your characters are given different tasks that start off usually just based on their attacks. For instance, if you hit 7 enemies in a row with an arrow, then, you do this 4 or 5 times and you'll complete this task. That task will then allow you to upgrade and level up your character. When you level up your character, that is when other forms are unlocked. You can kind of see it's pretty easily broken down, easy to understand. I can't tell you for sure off the top of my head what unlocks what, but essentially it's all based on a grade scale, and as soon as you get from an F ranking to a D ranking to a C ranking, you'll unlock different forms, which then can in turn also lock other forms and unlock elements and unlock skills, and the game just kind of plays out that way. A lot of it is based in that kind of dungeon crawl style, grindy-esque game. Like, the story itself, like I said, is calamity overthrowing the world. Everything's in chaos, but they don't really expand too much on that. Like, it's not a big sticking point. Like, you just know, okay, I've got to go to get these 5 shards so that we can create this gem so that we can save the world. We can get it to the High Wizard, which we don't know where the High Wizard is, but we'll worry about that later. And that's kind of the, storyline. It's not a lot, I'll put it that way. But what they do have in the story is done pretty well, because it's pretty humorous, and the NPCs and all the other characters you run into they're engaging, and you kind of enjoy your interactions with them, because everyone's kind of, they've got a witty little quip about them, which really makes the writing engaging. Exploration in this game is halted by a few things. Environmental items like water or trees or just a tight space that's kind of difficult to get through, or by wands. So you collect wands by completing tasks, upgrading characters, things of that nature, and they're the literal gatekeeper to you moving forward or exploring different dungeons. I will say that I thoroughly enjoyed my time with this game. I think it lives up to the name that kind of followed it, the prestige of one of the best indies of 2022. I think it's up there, and I think that it's ported over really well with all the chaos, with all the amazing graphical performance. The game holds up really well on the Switch. It's kind of hard to believe that it looks this good on the Nintendo Switch. I mean, the game just pops, and when you have a massive character and enemies on the screen, it doesn't really seem to lag or have any issues of that nature. Sound-wise, I think this game has done a great job. It really is the canvas for the graphical beauty that is the game, if you will. It definitely holds its own, as well as I think like the story really does meld well with what they're trying to do. Puts the emphasis on combat. Now, with that being said, the one thing that I will complain about a little bit with combat is there is no action for dodging, rolling, for anything of that nature, and for me personally, that is huge. Like, I desperately need that in this style of game. Like, when you're playing a dungeon type game, or a Legend of Zelda, or roguelike, any of those, the ability to dodge is massive, and so when you take that out, that really does feel like an element that is just desperately needed, and I really wish they would add that in. But aside from that, I think this is a great pickup. Most people, I think, will be really happy playing it. I would give it like an 8.5 out of 10. Like, it's a very strong game. I really enjoy it. I hope they add more DLC and more stuff to it, because we'll say it's only about maybe 12 to 15 hours long, and I would like to see that expanded on. Anyway, that's my thoughts on it. I really enjoyed it. Again, I appreciate each and every one of you guys. I, like always, am wishing you health, wealth, and above all, I hope you're happy. I hope life is treating you well. You guys take care. Have a good one.